with your hosts, Andrew Romanella.
I found this out recently, and I have to tell you, I'm very disturbed. I don't understand it. I don't think I'm good enough in this spot based on my own personal mental health, so I can't continue. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into another edition of the Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com. Dingo TV channel 217, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, wherever you want to watch live. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you till 7:30 or so. We remind you of the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call TikTok, Facebook. Follow us on all of them. You know the drill. We've been working through getting our music and our sounders and our volumes appropriate for the show recently. So hopefully, as we continue to trek through this new time in StreamYard and we continue to show you the new version of the Rome Show on 12ouncesports.com and Dingo TV channel 217, we get the technical difficulties figured out and we give you the best audio quality possible. We're going to give you the best show possible today, provided that I brought some good information to the table. I told you yesterday that we were going to have a discussion today regarding whether or not you believe you need to win a championship in order to be considered an all-time great in a particular sport. I have an argument that I'd like to bring to the table that I think makes plenty of sense when it comes to having this conversation of can you be an all-time great and what type of winning success you needed to have in your career. So we're going to get into that. We'd love to hear from the people. The Rome Show on all the social medias. Baseball update. Told you we'd give you that yesterday. Obviously, we never go through the full schedule because we only have 30 minutes together, so we try and maximize the time that we can. And then the Niners, that's right, the Niners and Brandon Ayuk, they figured out a deal. We'll get through those numbers for you. And Steph Curry as well. And the Warriors signed an extension, which looks like Steph Curry is going to be in Golden State for the rest of his career. And it made me think a little bit about the NBA's all-time scoring list and where Steph Curry ranks all-time on the NBA scoring list, which I think you're going to be surprised about some of the names that exist on that NBA all-time scoring list. So a big docket of games today, and of course, games. What is wrong with me? A big docket of sports for us today to get into. And I would like to start with the question that we finished the show with yesterday, which was, do you need a championship to be considered an all-time great? All right. So I think a fun conversation, and a conversation that no matter what, you're never going to have resolution on. You're never going to have resolve on the conversation of the greatest all time. You're never going to have resolve on the conversation of Hall of Famers. You have to accept certain conversations in the sports world are not going to have resolutions. Why, you may say, is because everybody has an opinion, okay? And your opinion oftentimes skews your logic thought process into whether or not a player deserves the praise you're giving them. So when I asked the question yesterday, if you have never won a championship, do you deserve to be in the conversation of all-time greats? I was talking primarily about Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani. If you've listened to this show since the inception of it 5 years ago, but more importantly, since being full-time on 12ouncesports.com starting in January, if you've listened to this show, we've done specific shows on topics related to this, primarily of the variety of Mike Trout. Mike Trout was actually our biggest conversation when it came to this discussion about a month or so ago, when it was determined that Mike Trout would be out for the rest of the season. So for me, this is something we've talked about, and I want to take it a step further because I do think that is the history of sports, you're always going to have this scenario where there is somebody considered one of the greatest of all time, but it's hard to call him the greatest all time or feel like he deserves that praise because he's never hosted a title. So I've decided that if you are in a team sport, basketball, football, soccer, hockey, baseball, if you are a member of a team, okay, and you are one of the greatest perceived players of all time based on statistics and what you've put on paper, then I believe you deserve your praise as a great, as an all-time great. You know, some people like to use the terminology Mount Rushmore. Some people like to go, oh, top 5 greatest of all time. Some people will break it down by position. My point being, okay, when it comes to a team sport, because there's so many external factors outside of you just going out there, being the greatest and winning a championship, it is super difficult to hold that over the head of the athlete. Here is my example of some of those players, okay? Henrik Lundqvist, great goaltender for the New York Rangers, could be considered one of the greatest goalies of all time based on the eye test and the numbers test. Doesn't have a championship, okay? How about Ken Griffey Jr., the first player in the history of Major League Baseball to be unanimously voted into the Hall of Fame? No championships for Ken Griffey Jr. Another legendary one, my guy, Dan Marino of the Miami Dolphins. Long time considered like the greatest passing quarterback of all time. Before, obviously, the NFL like flipped into the early 2000s to where we are now, where it's just pass, pass, pass. But running back and offensive line are the most important positions, but we're going to pass, right? So Dan Marino, all-time great. You got to think about Dan Marino's career, man. He went to the Super Bowl in his first season or second season, 83 or 84, maybe it was 84, I think. They went to the Super Bowl and then never got back. Team sport. That's the Dolphins. They haven't gotten back since, Dan. I just want you to know that. It's not a you thing. It's a we thing, man. So Dan Marino, another great example. Here's one that is actually literally the greatest like hitter of all time over the course of a given season in Major League Baseball. Ted Williams. Ted Williams, oft considered the greatest hitter of all time, right? You know, battle with Pete Rose there too. Ted Williams, no championship. LaDainian Tomlinson, Allen Iverson, Tony Gwynn. How about Charles Barkley? We hear from Charles Barkley a lot. And here's my thing, right? I understand, too, that in those moments of teams trying to win championships, those individual players that I just mentioned could have had moments where, oh, had they done this, maybe they won a title. Or had they done that, maybe they won this championship. It doesn't matter. You can't quantify or break down a moment in a team professional sport outside of an extreme moment, outside of a Chris Webber, Fab Five, Michigan, forgets they don't have any timeouts, calls a timeout. Like, you literally are watch them lose the national championship because of that, right? Like, there are certain moments, Bill Buckner, underneath his legs, right? Goes underneath his legs, the Mets win Game 6. What people don't remember is that was Game 6. They still could have won Game 7. That wasn't the World Series in that moment, team sport. Right? Well, what if Boston comes out and they win that series? Okay? If they come out and win Game 7, you don't even know Bill Buckner's error exists outside of a wild documentary that might come out, and they're like, oh, you're like, oh my God, I forgot about that era. Right? Team sport. So many things go into winning a championship when it comes to playing on a team that it's almost impossible to hold against an individual their lack of championship based on the teams. And, you know, LeBron's got championships. But when you look at the first 10 years of LeBron's career, the fact that he even brought those Cleveland Cavaliers teams to Eastern Conference Finals and championship berths is great, all-time great stuff to begin with. right? I mean, go look at those rosters. I think Jonas Valanciunas was a starter on one of those rosters, okay? So these are factors you cannot play with. Now, let's flip the script. I play tennis. I play golf, okay? I play pickleball if they do that one-on-one. I have no clue. I'm a swimmer, not on the relay, right? I'm a runner, not on the relay. Individual sport, okay? I think the only way as an individual that you are able to be considered an all-time great is if you win in your sport, right? Nobody remembers the golfer that had 27 top 10 finishes, 15 top 5 finishes, and 12 second place finishes. No one remembers that guy. Some people remember him for what he does not want to or she want to be remembered by. So individually, I don't even know if I said that in English. Individually, you got to define it by championships because literally the individual championship is legitimately the definer of whether or not you're good at the sport. I can go to the golf course and have a 10.911 handicap, shoot an 80 to an 85, 86, and people can look at me like, wow, that guy's really good. And they might remember that, right? But I ain't going to be considered an all-time great because that's atrocious if I was doing that on the PGA Tour. But if that for some reason made me every single cut, let's say I shot a 75 every round, made every cut, held my PGA card for 15 years, 14 people might remember me as a golfer. Now I win one championship. Let's say I win the U.S. Open, or better yet, I win a Masters and have that same career, okay? Let's take the two next to each other. Top 10 guy. What'd I say? 23 top 10 finishes, 15 top 5 finishes, 12 second place finishes. And then the second example, I barely make the cut every single round. Maybe I've missed a few cuts here and there. Maybe this guy's ranked world like number 29 or 35. I'm world like 72, okay? But I go out and I win a Masters. This guy never misses a cut, but only wins some mediocre tournaments here and there. I win a Masters and some mediocre tournaments here and there. My career will be remembered way more than this person who was actually a better golfer than I was over the course of our 15, 20 years on tour. Why? Because of championship. Okay? And do I think that happens sometimes in the team sport? Yeah, I do. But for the most part, in the individual sport, you won't even know the guy's name. At least with Charles Barkley, we could say that guy's a Hall of Famer, one of the greatest of all time, just never won a championship. Boy, you watching Dan Marino play was elite. I wish the Dolphins could have gotten him a championship, right? That right there is the difference as to why there has to be two categories to considering whether or not a championship matters when it comes to looking at somebody, their body of work, in terms all-time greatness and where they lie. Let's stay on that conversation because Steph Curry is in that conversation. How do you remember Steph Curry? Okay? Because a lot of people, I think, have Steph Curry as a top 3 or 4 player of all time. And when I saw he signs an extension with the Golden State Warriors for 1 year, $62.5 million, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. 1 year, $62.5 million. He will be making $60 million a year for the next 3 seasons while in Golden State. Steph Curry's 36 years old. So when looking at this, reading about this extension and thinking about Steph Curry as an all-time great, I think Steph Curry is on the Mount Rushmore of basketball, right? And if he's not on the Mount Rushmore, he is the 2 tombstones or headstones, whatever you call those, I guess sculptures, right behind if there was ever a reason why Mount Rushmore would be added to or switched because of the way he has changed the game of basketball. We said it when we were talking about Caitlin Clark. There are just some people that change the game. Michael changed the game. Caitlin's changing the game. Okay? And Steph Curry changed the game. So Golden State doesn't want him to play anywhere else before his career ends. So officially, Steph Curry has 3 years left on his deal. So his last year in Golden State will be 26-27 season, and he will be 39 years old at that time. Steph Curry last year averaged 26.4 points per game, 41% from three, 5.1 assists, and 4.5 rebounds per game. He did note that he wants to be on a contender. And Golden State says they believe that Steph Curry, as long as Steph Curry's on their roster, they can be a contender. If you want to take a look at the screen here, if you're watching at home, I got the first 24 scorers on the NBA, ABA all-time scoring list here. Okay. Working with my head here, seeing where I like my head position. LeBron James, best scorer of all time. I think we all knew that. But if you see a highlighted name on here, this is a player that is still in the National Basketball Association. So if you see there, Kevin Durant, 10th all time on the NBA's all-time scoring list. Now, Kevin Durant for a while was trending towards the area of all-time great without a championship. Then he got 2 in Golden State, and that has since changed the conversation. But scroll down there to number 23. How about that? James Harden. I did not know this. So I am here to tell you that I'm sorry for any James Harden hate I have given in the past based on purely his basketball play alone, okay? I think sometimes the way he's acted, changed teams, kind of what I feel is pretty disrespectful to teams. That's just my opinion. That'll skew your vision on a player. That'll skew your thoughts on how good or not good a player is. Well, my thoughts have been skewed on James Harden until I looked at this list. And I'm like, bro, James Harden is the 23rd all-time scorer in the NBA, and he still has a few seasons left. There's a solid chance by when all's said and done, James Harden's a top 20 scorer of all time. Doesn't have a championship. So it's just interesting when it comes to being a team sport. Let's push this list to 1 through 24. Now you'll start seeing Steph Curry show up on the list. I thought Steph Curry would be higher based on the fact that most buckets he makes are threes. But Steph's been in the league for 15 years. I think he plays another 3 or 4. I don't know how high he gets on this list, but I think he'll definitely be top 25 when all's said and done. One more surprise here for you before we hit to our commercial break. Check out the name on the number 28 spot. That would be Russell Westbrook. That also surprised me to a degree. So I told you all that. Now think about this, ladies and gentlemen. The 10th leading scorer, Kevin Durant. You know where he was drafted? Oklahoma City Thunder. Technically the Seattle Supersonics. We're going to call it the Oklahoma City Thunder. 23rd best scorer of all time. Who is that guy? James Harden. Where was he drafted? Oklahoma City Thunder. And the 28th best scorer of all time in the National Basketball Association, Russell Westbrook. You may be asking, where was he drafted? The Oklahoma City Thunder. So, let's put this into perspective for a quick second. Sam Presti, the general manager of the Oklahoma City Thunder, could be considered one of, if not a Mount Rushmore general manager of all time, because in my lifetime, I witnessed him draft 3 players that will most likely end up on the NBA's top 25 all-time scoring list. Has that ever been done? Like, seriously, I want to look back on the draft era of basketball and find out if one singular individual, how many times has been drafted on this list by one GM. But kudos to Sam Presti, because we watched that threesome 15, 12 years ago now, 10 years ago, whatever it was, and we were all so sad when Kevin Durant left Oklahoma City to go to Golden State. And we all knew Oklahoma City didn't have the money to keep those three there. And it makes so much sense, even more so now when you look at this list. So, what an interesting conversation when it comes to all-time players and them winning a championship. The Rome Show won, what do you want? Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Instagram, Facebook, all of the things. We're going to take a quick commercial break here. We're going to come back. We're going to talk Brandon Ayuk and baseball. Stick with us here. The Rome Show, 12ozsports.com. Dingo TV, channel 217.
Need tickets to that next event? Well, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got them with soccer anywhere in the world. Tickets to any venue, any sport. Want to go to NCAA or NFL football matches? We've got them.
Yeah.
Baseball at every level. Every Power 5 matchup is available. Don't forget, costumes and paint are optional. What's that? You want to go to Broadway? We have those too. Want to jam out? Every concert, every artist. That's right, at 12 Ounce Sports, we've got the tickets for less. 12ozsports.com/tickets. That's 12ouncesports.com/tickets.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
The Rome Show here. 12ouncesports.com, Dingo TV, channel 217. I'm Andrew Romanello. We got 7 to 8 minutes together, and we have a lot to cover, so we're going to get right into it, starting with Brandon Ayuk of the San Fran 49ers. This has been a stalemate for the entirety of the offseason. Brandon Ayuk has been holding in to San Francisco 49ers camp, and clearly, ladies and gentlemen, it worked out for the man because he just got paid. On August 12th, the 49ers offered Brandon Ayuk a contract extension worthy of 4 years, $120 million. Brandon Ayuk did not sign it. Well, actually, he did. He signed it yesterday. So maybe it just took him 17 days. Apparently, he got shopped. He said he'd want to get traded if he didn't get the money he wanted. He didn't actually want to get traded. He really just wanted what he wanted from the 49ers. The 49ers from the jump has said they want to sign Brandon Ayuk. This is who they want here. But they just need to make sure they make the right decision for the franchise. Brandon Ayuk is becoming their clear number one wide receiver. Obviously, you have a Deebo Samuel, which you can't consider a traditional wide receiver. You have a George Kittle, who is a tight end. You have a Christian McCaffrey, who's not just your traditional running back because he catches the ball so much. So the offense is explosive, right, all over the board. But to have a natural wide receiver that can take the top off of a defense, then allows those other 2 or 3 guys we just mentioned to really be elite. You keep the same core together now for the 3rd year with quarterback Brock Purdy. That's a really good place to be if you're the San Francisco 49ers. So they wanted to get this deal done. For those of you at home that are wondering what type of wide receiver Brandon Ayuk has been during his 4-year career, he's only just gotten better every single time he's been on the field. In his rookie season 2020, he had 60 receptions, 748 yards, 5 TDs. Sophomore season, 56, 80, 826 and 5 TDs. Then it started to jump. 2022, he had 78 receptions, 1,015 yards, and he had 8 TDs. And then in 2023, he didn't play in all games, missed one game, 75 receiving receptions, 1,342 yards receiving, and 7 touchdowns. He was targeted 114 times in 2022, and he was targeted 105 times in 2023. So think about that. This man is amassing over 100 targets, right? While being in an offense with Deebo Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, and George Kittle. So he clearly has value to this team. Somebody that maybe look to get as a receiver on your ball club this year. So I just really am interested with this whole holdout thing. It seems to be working out for everybody. It's like, just hold out. So, like, really, why do teams even do this? Why do they wait? I guess they wait to maybe make a cut on the 53-man roster, and then maybe there's salary cap money available now based on shifting things. I thought it was set. I have to look more into it, but it just blows my mind that every single one of these guys holds out. And it sounds like to me the only person in the history of time that has never made out from a holdout is Le'Veon Bell. Literally. I can't think of another player in the history of the National Football League that has held out and it didn't work out for them outside of Le'Veon Bell. And it kind of did work out for Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, he missed a whole year with the Steelers, but he did get paid by the Jets. Now, did his career end some 2 years later? Yeah. Was he put on a terrible Jets team that was not prepared for him to be on it? Absolutely. It didn't work out for Le'Veon Bell, even though it worked out. If I'm making sense there, okay? Anytime I have 40 mil in the bank, I think it's working out. I'll take 3 more years of my football career, and then I'll gladly retire. So I'm here to tell all NFL players, just hold out. Just hold out, because it's clearly going to work out for you. We'll see if it works out for the 49ers this year. Baseball is heating up, and you got wild card races you need to pay attention to. In the American League, the Boston Red Sox are currently 3.5 games back of the Minnesota Twins. The problem, though, here for the Twins is they're losers of 4 straight and 2 of their last 10. Winners of 2 of their last 10. So not good for the Twinsies. So they're giving the Red Sox a chance, who hadn't been playing very well themselves, but are now still in this race because of that. The Mariners fired their head coach last week. They're 4.5 back of the Twins. The Orioles and the Royals probably have the first 2 spots locked up, and or the Orioles win the American League East and the Yankees take one of those top spots. But the Yankees have a 1.5 game lead over the Orioles, and the same thing reigns true for the Central in the American League, where the Royals are 1.5 back of the Guardians. In the National League, the Metsies are 3 back of the Atlanta Braves. The Braves are starting to play way better, though. That's the problem, 7-3 in their last 10. The Mets have been playing well, but they just need to close games. They lost 2 tough ones this weekend to the Diamondbacks. They should have taken the series against the Padres. Those are things you need to do if you want to make postseason, especially with the Braves in front of you. And oh, by the way, what 2 teams did I just say they lost those games to? The Diamondbacks and the Padres, who are the 2 teams that hold the 2 wild card spots in the National League 1 and 2. Number 3 is the Bravos. The Cubs are floating around there in the 5th position because of a recent surge. They've won 3 in a row, 7 of their last 10. So baseball's heating up. You turn it on, baby. It's a fun time for baseball. I Instagram storied this the other day, the sports equinox, the next one coming up October 28th. That meaning all 4 major sports are in play. You know what's in play right now? Daily Bananas. 3, and then you're going to take yourself out of here because it's the weekend. I appreciate everybody jumping into the Rome Show. We were back 5 days this week. Fire me up. We'll be off for Labor Day. Okay, I'll be playing golf with my nephew and my brother-in-law and my father for our last break before we get fully into it. And you peoples better be ready because next week starts football season and it is going to be exciting. Andrew Romanella, The Rome Show, 12ouncesports.com, Dingo TV channel 217. Peace.
Thank you for listening.